It's been very serious, and it's been building really since middle of September.
Drought-related brush fires are breaking out across Alabama.
Humidity's been low and the wind has been high, so the fire behavior, makes it more intense.
The whole area is a tinderbox. 46 counties are under a burn ban. It's been dry.
Right now, about 35% of where it should be. This is part of a system of reservoirs providing drinking water and recreation to millions. It's also a system suffering from extreme drought. Drought has depleted the water in all the Northeast Jersey system reservoirs, prompting a drought warning in 14 counties.
The Great Salt Lake is drying up fast. New photos from NASA's Earth Observatory show the body of water has reached its lowest level on record. The lake is a terminal basin, which means it's the last stop for the water flowing from rivers and streams. And for about 150 years, people have been taking more water out of the lake than what's pouring in. The observatory estimates that humans take 40% of water from rivers that's supposed to make its way into the basin. That's caused the shoreline to shrink 11 feet since 1847.
Violent storms lashed Italy. One man was killed in Ladispoli, 55 kilometers to the north of Rome, when he was struck by masonry falling from a building, while an Indian man was crushed when a tree landed on his car in Cesano. A tornado on the outskirts of Rome damaged dozens of buildings, and homes were evacuated over concerns of gas leaks. The capital itself suffered heavy winds and rains, leaving several streets flooded and knocking down dozens of trees. Further north, the Arno River threatened to burst its banks in Florence, and authorities issued a potential flood alert for the Tuscany region. Italians are bracing themselves for further severe weather as new violent storms are forecast for southern Italy.
To step up and reduce water use by 15%. In a household of 4 people, that's about 7 or 8 gallons of water per person per day they'd like you to cut back. At the end of October, the regional water authorities' reservoirs were well below average.
A foot of rain fell in just 48 hours. This was over the weekend, and the problem is it keeps on falling in some spots. The flooding has been blamed for at least 10 deaths. Just let me give you an example here. There was a mother and her 3 children that were killed when their home collapsed. So this is really horrific stuff. A lot of neighborhoods still underwater. And keep in mind, this flooding comes just over a month after Hurricane Matthew absolutely devastated parts of the island. These guys just can't catch a break.
Desperate bid to combat days of extreme pollution. The choking smog, which is several times over the safety limit, has left the Indian capital shrouded in a heavy haze, forcing officials to shut the city's schools. The pollution is the worst to hit New Delhi in 20 years and has got so bad that machines designed to register the air quality are no longer able to take any measurements. The city's health minister said all measures are being taken to curb this pollution. For the first time, Delhi's roads are being washed. Water is being sprinkled on the roads to prevent dust from rising. A combination of car emissions, fireworks from the Hindu festival of Diwali, dust from building sites and the burning of farm residue in surrounding states have all combined to engulf the Indian capital.
Seismologists say they've located 6 faults that ruptured in the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in New Zealand that killed 2 people and displaced just shocking amounts of land. These tremors shook loose thousands of landslides, mainly on New Zealand's South Island, and scientists are saying some of the faults that went along the beach and into the sea, those were the ones that caused a small tsunami. The drought in California is in its 5th year. Experts say it's the worst the state has seen in more than 1,000 years. I know it might be hard to get your head around that statistic, but now, before and after satellite photos of reservoirs around the state offer some dramatic evidence. For example, look at these pictures of Lake Cachema, which serves 5 water districts north of Los Angeles. The lake is just a fraction of its former self. On the plus side, Northern California did get a lot of rain in October and it's starting to recover, but the drought remains in Central and Southern California, including very important agricultural areas. And a 3-year drought emergency remains in effect.
4 magnitude earthquake that hit western Argentina on Sunday evening, and the epicenter of it was 15 miles southwest of the Argentine town of San Juan. Now, this was felt across the border in neighboring Chile, and it did end up shaking some buildings there in the capital, Santiago, but there were no reports of major damage or injuries, thankfully. Although the quake was strong, the center was also very deep. It struck at a depth of more than 70 miles, and that may have lessened some of the impact. Chile's name.
Overseas tonight, we have learned of a powerful earthquake and now a tsunami warning we're tracking involving Fukushima, Japan, where another powerful earthquake struck 5 years ago, triggering that nuclear power plant disaster.
Smoke forcing the authorities to order tens of thousands of people to leave the city. Many homes have already been destroyed, with firefighters working to douse the flames to stop the fires spreading. Some houses, though, are beyond repair. The main highway between Israel's 3rd biggest city and Tel Aviv was closed for some time, while teams tried to put out the flames as they gained ground on residential areas. The wildfires have struck an area close to Jerusalem, with some property already lost to the blaze. Homes have also been damaged in part of the occupied West Bank. Israeli authorities have raised the possibility that the fires may have been started deliberately, arresting 4 Israeli Palestinians, but a judge released them soon afterwards, citing a lack of evidence.
Of El Salvador at a depth of 33 kilometers. It rattled the region just as a hurricane barreled into nearby countries as well. There were no immediate reports of damage from Thursday's quake. The Central American country is situated along the major seismic zone known as the Pacific Ring of Fire. Over the last 2 weeks, earthquakes with magnitudes over 7.0 have hit Japan and New Zealand, both of which are located along the Ring of Fire.
Parts of the northwest have been inundated by heavy rain. Torrential downpours caused the Piedmont region's Tanaro River to burst its banks, prompting local officials to ask the government to declare a state of emergency. 2 days of continual rain has had a similar impact on Turin, where the Po River also flooded. The region of Liguria has been hit hard and a red alert warning for bad weather issued. Meteorologists have warned of possible gale-force winds sweeping in over the coast.
Ordered to evacuate in advance of the storms that brought all of this rainfall in several cities in northwestern Italy. There have been hundreds of people, as you can imagine, that have been left homeless. Look at the roads completely destroyed, and some of these intense rains, as you can see, triggered landslides. And the famous Sicilian orange crop, unfortunately, has also sustained a lot of damage within that same region.
At least once a year, but it usually falls in January or February and rarely accumulates for long. As much as 2 centimeters of snow was predicted for the center of the city, according to the Japanese Meteorological Agency. When the last November flakes fell in the Japanese capital, John F. Kennedy was US president and Bob Dylan had just released his debut album. It began as sleet around dawn, but turned to snow soon afterwards. It was sparked by an unusual cold front spreading over the Tokyo area that sent temperatures plunging to near 0 Celsius, that's 32 Fahrenheit.
There was also deadly flooding in Greece, which prompted evacuations and ended up claiming the life of one man on the island of Zakynthos, Greece. Several people were rescued from flooded basements there.